All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something I think every single person who loves books wants to know. How do we go beyond just following the plot and start to really see all the amazing hidden stuff packed inside a story?
You know that feeling, right? You finish a famous book, you get the story, but there's this little voice in your head going, I feel like there was something else going on there. Well, you're not wrong, and we're going to fix that today.
Okay, so here's the core idea, the big secret. A book is never just a book. It's a cultural artifact. Think of it like a time capsule. Every story is a window into the society that made it. All its hopes, its fears, its biggest arguments, it's packed with clues.
Now, to start finding those clues, we're going to need a toolkit, and that's what this first section is all about. We're going to build one, starting with the most important idea of all.
This is basically what we mean when we say literary studies. And look, it's not about finding the one right answer, it's about learning how to ask way more interesting questions. It's kind of like becoming a detective, but for culture itself.
The very first tool we're putting in our kit is something I like to call a historical map. Because to really get where a story is going, you've got to know where, and just as importantly, when it's coming from.
This map is all about context. I mean, knowing a novel was written during a huge war, or right in the middle of a scientific breakthrough, that totally changes how you read it, doesn't it? It helps you understand the conversation the book was trying to join.
And you can see this so clearly when you look at how things have changed. Literature moves with society. Back in the Renaissance, everyone was buzzing about human potential, so you get these epic plays like Dr. Faustus. Then the Romantics came along and pushed back against all the factories and industry, celebrating nature in poems like Tintern Abbey. And then World War I happened, and that trauma completely shattered the old ways of telling stories, giving us the broken, experimental pieces of modernism. Each one is a direct response to its time.
So at the end of the day, this map isn't about forcing you to memorize dates. It's about understanding the why. It lets us see the actual ideas and conflicts that were floating around in the air when an author sat down to write. And that gives us a much, much deeper appreciation for what they were trying to do.
All right, let's keep building. Our second tool is a set of what we'll call critics' lenses. Seriously, think of them like special glasses. You put on a pair, and suddenly different parts of the story just pop into focus.
So each of these lenses, or theories, just gets you to ask different questions. A Marxist lens? It's all about the money and power. It asks, how does the class system shape this story? A feminist lens looks at gender. How are women portrayed here, and what does that tell us about society's rules? And a postcolonial lens digs into the legacy of empire. The coolest part is, you can point all of these at the exact same book and find totally different, totally valid new meanings every single time. Okay, we've got our map, we've got our lenses. Now for the really fun part. Let's actually put this new toolkit to work and see how it completely changes a book we all think we know. It's time to start reading in 3D. And our case study is going to be the classic, George Orwell's 1984. Most of us read it and think, wow, terrifying story about surveillance, a warning against Big Brother. And it is. But with our new tools, we can go so much deeper.
Let's just do it. Step 1, let's use our map. Orwell wrote this book right after World War II. The world was terrified of the rise of fascism and Stalinism. That fear is literally baked into every single page. Now, step 2, let's pick a lens. How about a Marxist one? All of a sudden, the story isn't just about surveillance anymore, it's about class control. You start to see exactly how the elite party keeps the lower-class proles completely powerless and distracted. See, the story just got way more complex.
And this brings us to the final and maybe most amazing idea. These tools don't just help you understand one book in isolation. They let you see how all of literature is part of this one gigantic ongoing conversation that's been happening for centuries all across the globe.
A perfect example of this is the dialogue between colonial literature and post-colonial literature. For hundreds of years, you had many British novels that would describe their colonies and the people there as simple, or savage, or needing to be saved. But then, authors from those very places started to write back.
This is precisely what's happening in a book like Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. It's not just a story, it is a direct response. It's an act of reclaiming history, of showing a rich, complex Nigerian culture from the inside, and in doing so, it challenges those old, damaging colonial stereotypes head-on. It turns literature into this powerful act of resistance and dialogue.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's this. You now have one simple, powerful toolkit, your historical map and your critical lenses, that can absolutely, fundamentally change the way you read forever.
You're not just a passive reader anymore. You're an active interpreter. You're a cultural detective. So the next time you crack open a book, any book at all, ask yourself, what was going on in the world when this was written? And what new things can I see if I just try on a different pair of glasses? What story will you find